Howdy folks, today we're doing a segment on oil. As per, we've got another war brewing in the Middle East once again, and they'll pretend it's for a weapon of mass destruction like nuclear weapons, which again, we've been there, did this before, and it was all proven to be bullshit. They were after the oil and the money and the gold. So that's what we're covering today. So welcome aboard, standard stuff, leave comments and whatever. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we're going to be touching on oil as a substance and maybe giving it a whole nother perspective. So I want to go around a topic around a man named Dalloway who was a character. So a man named Dalloway stood at the edge of the oil fields in Southern California. He wasn't looking at an industrial resource, he was staring at a predator. Now stay with me. This was in the 1960s from a story by Fritz Lieber called Black Gondolier. And Dalloway had this vision, this awful understanding of crude oil. He saw it not as some inert sludge, but as a, quote, black and nefarious essence. He believed it had waited not for hundreds of years, not for hundreds of millions of years. Wait, sorry, I fucked that up. He believed it had waited not for hundreds of years, but for hundreds of millions of years, dreaming its black dreams, sluggishly pulsing under the earth's skin. But the central idea, the one that inverts everything, was this. Dalloway's theory was that man hadn't discovered oil, but that oil had found man. We built this whole civilization on a substance we thought we controlled, that we harnessed. But what if we got the relationship backwards from the very beginning? What if we're not the masters here? So that's an interesting thought, isn't it?
It is, it's the black goo.
Yeah.
So
we've talked, Matt and I talk about these kind of weird things a lot, just in our own time, don't we? And we've discussed oil as a nefarious substance, maybe not using those words, but...
yes, totally. So and I think you deliberately always, led astray, like at school, the old fossil fuel stuff, which is a lot, we'll cover that in this video and others. So again, if you're not subbed or following our channel, you should, if anything like this interests you, because at the moment, we've done a bit of prophecy. Now we're heading into oil and different stuff that's going on. So yeah, and always throwing a like and all that being.
Yeah. So if it is a substance that controls us, what does it do to us? That's the big question. What do you think it does to us, oil?
Well, it's kind of poison, like
toxic.
Not something I drink.
No.
But interestingly enough, it seems to form at the same place the water is extracted out of the earth, so it all kind of
the reservoirs.
Right down in the mantle. That's what the scientists of now are saying, that the ones who have probably been cancelled for saying this and saying it wasn't dinosaurs,
which we will talk about some of those people.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. So well, let's start there then, with the whole story that we've been told. It's comforting in a way. We learnt it in school. Dinosaurs, great ancient forests, all that life dies and it decays, it gets buried under immense pressure over millions of years, and slowly it cooks into this black gold.
Yeah, right.
That's what we were told.
And there's all those little things like, they drill at about 30,000 feet, 28,000 feet all day long. That's where they're pulling the oil up. Fossils don't go anything below 16,000 feet. There's nothing below that.
Yeah.
There's oil, but no fossils. So
that's very interesting. But the idea is that they decayed even further, right?
Totally.
To make oil, apparently.
Totally. And it's just to literally put you off your guard, and it's also to make it so oil's precious. So you think it's always going to run out. Like I was looking at an oil tracker. I'll probably have it up behind us in a minute. And it's just showing you how much oil's left. And funnily enough, it's been 47 years, so there's numbers involved that they like. And it's never changed in 5 years. It keeps saying 47 years. So, seems a bit like bullshit to me. And, and they wanted to set price to the highest possible at all times. Half the reason these wars exist is this kind of bullshit, so they can put the price up. And you'll notice how they already put the price up, even when, the petrol that they're in the fuel shops in Australia is bought for X months ago. So, seems like a scam to me. Yeah, it seems like a load of bullshit that they can do that to us, but they do. And what are you going to do about it? You need it, and the whole of society runs on it. And there's been no advancements otherwise, deliberately. There's all these people, I might actually do a video on it, that have been murdered for making water-powered cars, for example. There's actually a company which I'm definitely going to do a video for shortly about a car that runs on salt water. And the US government has been setting up these specialised engines to be able to put them in boats out at sea. And that means they'll be able to run battleships and aircraft carriers off salt water that they're sitting in anyway. So there's a little bit more to it, but we've been tricked again, and we're still falling for it. I don't even know out there how many of you throw me a comment. How many of you think that it's dinosaur bones?
Yeah, well, you taught that in school, because I know we were. I remember we were just talking about the narrative or the curriculum in Australia when we were younger, back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, back 100 years ago.
That it was fossil fuels, and they had a countdown for what oil was left and all of that kind of stuff. So it was made to feel finite. So calling them fossil fuels, the name itself implies something finite, something that came from life and will one day be gone. But that's another story, a much stranger one. And it starts with a brilliant contrarian astrophysicist named Thomas Gold. Now, if you've heard of Thomas Gold, let us know what you think of Thomas Gold. But in the late 1970s, Gold got obsessed with a question: what if we're wrong? What if oil isn't from dead things at all? And he developed what he called the deep hot biosphere theory. The idea was radical. He proposed that hydrocarbons, the basic building blocks of oil and gas, are primordial, that they were formed deep in the Earth's mantle from inorganic materials during the planet's formation. He wasn't completely alone. This was a theory with roots in Russian and Ukrainian scientific research going back decades. They called it abiotic oil, abiotic meaning not from life. Their argument was that oil isn't a finite resource trapped in sedimentary rock, but a self-regenerating fluid that flows deep within the planet. They pointed to things like the constant low-level seepage of oil from the ocean floors, or the presence of hydrocarbons on other planets and moons like Titan, where there are literal lakes of methane and there are no dinosaurs there. And there's evidence within the oil itself. We find these things called biomarkers, chemicals that seem to link to biological life. And the standard story says, oh, well, see, that's proof it's from living things. But Gold flipped it, and he suggested that the microbes, the life might have fed on the oil as it migrated upward, that the oil came first from the abyss, and that life hitched a ride. It's a complete inversion. The carbon isn't a signature of the source, it's a stain from the passenger.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, I think from my basic understanding is that like tectonic plates are rubbing together. So you got all this friction.
Lubrication.
Well, it makes sense to lubricate, like that itself lubricating. When otherwise, could you imagine what the earthquakes would be like without some sort of lubrication of the fault lines rubbing together? We're talking immense power. Also makes sense to me because, like, say, example, Australia, we've got a bit of gas, but we don't have a lot of oil. We've got a lot of coal and a lot of shale and stuff, but it's not worth the money to touch.
And we were told gas comes from oil.
Yeah, and we're not tectonic. We're a sand island. So we like I think Indonesia's about the closest kind of ring of fire near us, but unaffected. We get little tremors or whatever. But that makes sense to me that we're not in a fault zone. We're not in a movement area where things are crushing together.
I'm waiting for the comments to say we are.
well, whatever. We're not. Screw you all. We're not. There's a bit of sand on an island. Shithole.
I was just saying. We'll get some backlash.
Yeah, so it makes sense that things rubbing together like the tectonic plates would make oil. It totally makes sense to me that. And I think at school too, I don't think they were just telling me it was dinosaurs. They were saying it was old forests and coral reefs and all sorts of shit.
In general.
But again, it's too deep for any of that to be even a legit thing. And then you got like microbes and bio crap, which are kind of weird. Like life's so everywhere.
And it finds things to feed off as it emerges.
And it makes like humans shit. Oil could be the shit of something horrible, like some sort of weird microbe,
That is a point.
Who knows?
A demonic poo, maybe?
Yeah, it could be demonic poo. Poo oil.
Demonic poo, like that. It kind of seems, it's very toxic to us. And that's what we've got to remember is that, this goo that we've been able to harness and refine, you have to refine it to use it. So it is, very, very toxic. We've had ocean spills and things like that have killed marine life and, it makes people sick. So if it makes us so sick and it's so toxic, is it from a good thing? Is it a good substance?
Well, yin and yang anything. So there's always
water and oil.
That's it. Water and oil are yin and yang, and they separate just like yin and yangy kind of symbols. You can envisage it in your head that oil and water do not mix, but they're formed at the same levels, at the same area, by the same kind of movements, and so there's kind
one's
of like
dark, one's clear.
That's it. So they're all coming up from the mantle, like from really, really deep within us. And they come and they go. Like you look at top of mountains, even in Australia's little hills, there's fossils at the top of these mountains. There was, I know the earth moves up and down a bit, but it does seem to be that, life is everywhere and,
True.
It's deep and it's everywhere. So
So the first crack in our reality, if oil isn't from dead things, then what is it from? The abiotic theory changes everything. It moves oil from the realm of a resource we harvest, like coal, like timber, into something else entirely. A presence, a fluid that emerges from the underworld of the planet itself. It transforms our relationship from one of extraction to one of confrontation. Maybe we're not tapping into an ancient graveyard, we might be tapping a vein. So that could be an interesting thought.
Oil didn't
So
like
we
it.
just
Just
had
kill one of my lights.
Yeah, one of our lights just...
So we'll
So
do
we
it
went a
by
bit
we'll do it by
darker.
candlelight now. It's fine.
Yeah, so we're going back to no power, which is, you know, the reliance on oil.
Yeah,
Maybe
well, it
it's
is.
what
It
it's
is.
doing.
It is.
Same with stuff here, you can have no vein tap.
Look, the thing that's pissing me off the most about oil going up at the moment is the shitty kind of attitude you'll get from assholes who own these EVs. Like, they all fell into the scam of electric's good and all this sort
it
of
was
stuff.
very much a
Which still
programming.
uses oil and it uses materials like 500,000 tonnes per car dug out of a mountain, so you're not doing any good for the planet.
Yeah, and you
But
needed that
the
oil.
smug
for
look of those motherfuckers
Yeah.
at the moment driving their electric shit around while I'm paying too much, so...
But you need oil to dig up the lithium, right?
Oh,
So
look, you need so
You need it
much.
for so much.
It doesn't matter what we do, like, there's a general output's always
The
the same.
reliance is
Whether you're
always-
using lithium or oil, they're both poisonous, they're both very dangerous. And, you know, really humans should have been looking at the easier stuff like air and water. Like that's it, you know, but then there's so many of us on the planet. Whatever we choose, it's going to wreck it. Like if salt water's an option for powering engines, we'll desalinate the ocean. Then everything's dead again. So I don't think there's any way to win this battle. It's
we consume.
that's
the
it.
problem.
And I think we're like a virus these days. Like humans, I don't think used to be a virus. I think they used
We
to be
speak
more at one.
consciousness
Yeah.
and a consciousness.
And at one with
that-
nature,
Yes,
and you gave back, and you know, but these days everyone's just dog eat dog,
Taking.
take,
And it
greed,
seems to be around the
money,
emergence of
oil.
oil.
Yeah, in 1850 was basically when they kind of rediscovered, I would say, oil. And you know, by 1870 they were digging this shit out of the ground, but they were literally walking around just shit's pouring out of the ground.
Well,
This
it
is
emerged a lot more. Like it made itself known. I would
Totally.
say it that way. Like it made itself to appear. You couldn't ignore it anymore.
and 1850
Yeah.
was what a evil kind of time.
What a time.
All the Rockefellers, everyone was
We're going to talk
playing.
about Rockefeller in a sec.
I know.
We are.
Alright,
You're
go.
right. So we're left with this abiotic substance, this fluid from the deep earth. But Dalloway's vision and the philosophers who picked it up since push it even further. It's not just abiotic, it's unhuman. This idea comes from the thinker Eugene Thacker, who analysed Lieber's story. The unhuman isn't something that's against us, like a monster. It's something utterly indifferent to who we are. It doesn't hate humanity, it simply uses us the way a vine uses a trellis. It grows through the structure that we provide, our civilization with all its pipelines and highways and engines, and we become the perfect trellis for this black vine to climb into the sunlight. Thacker describes stages of encountering this unhuman thing. First, we see it only in terms of what it does for us. Then the normal world, oil is fuel, it's progress, it's convenience. It exists for us. And then comes the inversion, the moment you realise we don't use oil, oil uses us. It's used our curiosity, our greed, our engineering to bring itself up from the depths. And that's what we were just talking about before, is it just seemed to make itself known, didn't it?
It does, and like even the latest oil deposits they found, like there's one in Niger, and it's literally coming out of the ground, like,
Yeah.
and that place has big problems, like big
Yes,
problems.
and it's just come up,
I
hasn't
would
it?
not call that place evil. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to be there.
The energy wouldn't be
The
that
energy would be
great.
pretty low
Yeah.
there, and funnily enough, this was like just a video I saw a minute ago, which
Oil
was,
merge.
and it was pouring out of the ground. Like back in the 1850s, it was doing the same. They're literally walking down the street. Oh, look at all this black shit coming out of the ground. So they didn't have to deep drill. They were literally just tapping it off the, you know, a few meters deep. They had endless supply. But this is still happening in the world, you know, worldwide. There's at the moment I've actually seen a few new deposits found. So there be a story about how rare it is and it's finite, and it's wrong. It's coming up out of somewhere, and it seems to replenish itself just like water.
It's a whole abiotic thing, isn't it?
It's what it does. So, you know, I think we've all been fooled well and truly, and, you know, I think it is time for people to, you know, get out of the box and think a bit more. And I think the thing that pisses me off the most is the inventors who come up with amazing technologies and
Yes.
always, you know, they fall off the planet. suspiciously.
Yeah, and there can be amazing changes for where our consciousness goes.
Totally.
And this is the thing, we can rewrite our whole consciousness and connection back to the earth as well. But we became the pump almost for this stuff. And our entire technological surge was just a vehicle for something ancient to enter our world. That's the idea of this. And this is what broke the character Dalloway. He started to see the world through oil's eyes, or whatever passes for eyes. He'd look at a city and not just see buildings and people. He'd see pipelines as arteries, the cars as blood cells circulating the black blood, the gas stations as well, feeding the feeding stations. He saw a whole system, not just as a human creation, but as an exoskeleton for this other thing. And this is the spiritual implication that should chill you. We talk about the age of man, but what if it's the age of oil and man is just the instrument at the moment? We didn't build this world for ourselves. We built it according to a blueprint that we didn't even know we were reading. The substance shaped our system. It demanded constant expansion, more flow, more consumption. It rewarded the minds that threw the way, the ruthless, the calculating, the never satisfied, and it punished or sidelined everyone else. So if this unhuman intelligence is real, even as a metaphor, it forces a brutal question. If oil is using us, what is it making us do? What patterns emerge when you look at history, not as human ambition, but as something else pulling the strings?
Well, it's funnily enough that Rockefeller was the first guy, I think it was David Rockefeller, there's a few of them, a few brothers or whatever, and he was the first guy who really monopolised on oil.
Which we're going to talk about his
oil founding, you know, it's kind of interesting that...
he became the like high priest.
Well, oil gave him, his family, the world, like, and they still control it.
Like school systems.
They created schools, they created everything that you think was great, like, you know, girls and feminism. They created that. They made a magazine deliberately, created feminism to screw women
the
over.
masculine feminine is
the
nature too. And so that's the other thing. And I'm like, you know, not saying I'm a very free woman. I'm not saying anything against that equality. I think that's very important. But I'm saying equality is different to, you know, tipping the scales one way or the other, right? There's this. So we need the balance. That's what I'm saying. And I think he was trying to tip it in the other direction. He
was manipulating it so they went and worked and paid tax and shit.
Yeah.
He wanted women out of he wanted them working for the oil. Literally. So he managed to set up the whole world to what it is today.
For the oil
for
it's almost like
family,
oil kind of fed his consciousness to make him do this. Like it was almost like he was tapping in. The more he tapped the veins of this blood force, it's like everything corrupts us around us. Nature is something we need to use wisely, but those patterns do emerge when you look at history, and since oil's been a big part of our petrodollar and how we work,
it's the real currency.
It is the
power
real currency.
Is a currency. Yep. Power is humans' currency, and oil is the biggest player.
Yeah.
So
at the moment it is. Yeah.
The dollars in your pocket are bits of plastic or paper. They're worthless. But oil can actually do shit. You can instantly use it. You can light it and light and heat and.
But you have to be careful with it.
You do. It's quite toxic, so you don't want to be mucking around with it too much. But you know, but even so, like it's sort of weird that they can synthesize oil. My car's got synthetic oil in it. It doesn't use real oil. Yet that never went anywhere either, which is kind of weird.
For like a lubricating car oil.
So it's kind of weird, but you know, there surely is other things that do exactly the same.
There are,
and they have more energy. But the system's been set up, and the system doesn't want to change for the greed. And the people in control are just they've got the reins and everyone's just a sheep to them. So. And the pattern becomes terrifyingly clear if you look at the moment the modern age truly began. It wasn't a political revolution or a philosophical treatise. It was a geisha of mud and gas and black gold in Spindletop, Texas in January 1901. For 9 days, this monstrous fountain erupted higher than anyone could have ever seen. It wasn't just an oil strike. To the people watching, it was something mythological breaking through. They called it a Hades gusher. One witness put it this way: whenever you punch a hole so deep into the ground that oil pops out, Hades comes with it. And the more oil, the more Hades. Think about that, Hades, the ancient Greek underworld, the land of the dead. And they weren't just being poetic. On one level it was literal. They punched through the roof of the underworld and the stuff of the dead ancient pressurized buried came screaming out. But on a spiritual level, they know they'd breached a boundary and they connected to the world of the living, to something much older and darker. So just the way oil looks,
Like it's a dark black
It's old
gooey
shit.
substance though, and it's got a smell to it that repels us.
Oh,
like
totally.
we know
You know
it's
it's bad.
it's toxic
bad.
to breathe in the fumes.
Yeah, water's the opposite. Again,
Yes,
it's the water
it's
and oil.
healing
They're
and
coming from the
cooling
same
and
place.
We've got fire and water
Yeah.
and cooling and heat and
Totally.
all the opposites. Isn't it funny?
It is funny. Well, not really
No.
laughy funny, but it's weird.
Uncanny.
And they both come in from the
Uncanny.
same source, like water and oil.
Yeah.
So it totally makes sense that one's, good and one's bad. It's basically how it is. And, and again, like I know water's got a lot of energy in it, and water has memory.
Water can be toxic too, but it's more the opposite.
Well, it can, but usually when we've done something to
Yeah,
it,
that's what I was going to
like
say.
mixed it with oil.
Oil turns up toxic and we have to refine it to make it usable.
Totally.
Whereas water is already flowing and healthy and we have to do something to corrupt it. So it's all
Totally.
that opposite again, isn't it?
Well, it's always the human way. It's just so short term
Yeah.
and all for the greed, where water is the most precious thing on the planet, not oil. Oil doesn't really matter at
We
all.
can do everything with water.
Water, you should have to pay more for it.
What did we start the Industrial Revolution with? Steam.
Yeah, with steam and coal, so water's really important, yet for all the greed, and everyone's always seems to be in agreement with it, they'll pump oil out of the ground, which then wrecks the aquifers as well. So wherever you're pumping oil or fracking or whatever, you're destroying your water supply. And alarmingly, the news isn't reporting anything about this at the moment, but in the Middle East, there's umpteen tankers now being sunk, like 20 plus tankers have
into
been
the
sunk.
ocean.
All right, like over there, I think Saudi Arabia has desal plants that supply 80% of that area with clean water. Well, now it's all getting clogged up. Their filters are going to get stuffed up, and they're going to run out of water. So
And
all
putting
this
that
greed,
into the water is
Yep.
just so bad. The
and
oceans.
we'll pretend it was to stop someone having a nuke or whatever, which I agree with. I don't reckon anyone should have nukes, but
But the people
you
who
know.
have the nukes telling the other people they can't have nukes.
I know. But the apparent, no evidence again. We're
Yeah.
running in, charging in, all guns blazing, no questions asked. Idiot man's just going crazy.
It was the WMD issue from the 90s and the early 2000s all over again, wasn't it?
Totally.
We went through this before and then they discovered there weren't any.
No,
and
we all protested and said, no war. This war actually, at the moment, is more unpopular than the Iraq war.
Yeah, I think
so. A lot of people are playing with fire.
More people are aware, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people playing with fire, doing what they're doing, and being supportive of this sort of stupidity. And it's the same thing. It wouldn't surprise me because of how evil shit is going on over in the Middle East at the moment, that suddenly they got more oil. They'll go, oh look,
It turned up.
wow,
It just came.
yeah, this
The
old
portal
well just filled up. Wow,
The,
tap
por-
it.
the portal opened.
Wouldn't
we can
surprise
say.
me. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
So I always think of it too as when the oil geishas or whatever they're called, geysers,
Something like that.
geysers, they would spill up out of the earth and
Yeah,
just
like
let,
a fountain.
and it's almost like
Letting
letting
pressure
people know I'm here. Look at me. You can use me. It's a very tempting for man as well. But with the portal open at that particular example at Spindletop in Texas, a new kind of human being had to emerge to manage the flow. So to interface with this power from the underworld, and the archetype was born, the oil man. This isn't just a businessman who deals in oil, it's a specific consciousness, a psyche shaped by the substance it touches. And the first high priest of this new religion was John D. Rockefeller. We remember him as a ruthless monopolist, the creator of Standard Oil. But seen through this darker lens, he was something else, and he was very occultist, right?
They all are.
He was the first to fully systemize the worship of the black blood. So it's a way of putting it, really.
Yeah, totally.
Before Spindletop, oil was for lamps. Rockefeller saw its true potential. Or did it kind of tap into Rockefeller's consciousness and kind of exploit him? Did he become the vessel? Who knows? Not for light, but for motion, for industry, for dominion. Standard Oil wasn't just a company, it was a church. Its pipelines were communion rails carrying the sacrament to every town. Its refineries were altars where the crude chaotic essence from below was purified and made usable for the modern world. The oil man archetype has a specific psychology, calculating, expansionist, ruthless. In a quiet, surgical way, it's a mindset that sees the world as a system to be optimized for one thing, the flow of the resource.
Rockefeller, funnily enough, too, with his power and wealth from all this oil, he pushed Christianity like no tomorrow.
Interesting.
Like massively.
Interesting.
Massively. That's where it all came from.
And
That's
very
why
much
there's so
about
many
control.
churches. That's why there's so many schools that are Catholic and all that kind of stuff. He really pushed it. So the wealth of oil pushed Christianity where it wouldn't have been anywhere near as big, nowhere near modern.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was part of the whole
The agenda.
and the fear.
The agenda. And also they call them oil barons.
Yeah.
Just by chance. And Trump's son's called Barron, isn't he?
He is.
Funnily enough. And he actually just made, he just
Yes.
bought $30 million bucks of oil a couple of months ago when it was dirt cheap. And
He did turn, it was Barron that did that.
yeah, Barron Trump. Brought lots of oil. Makes sense. Sounds like a book.
Gosh.
Funnily enough.
Well, there are a couple of
There are a few Barron
in the
books.
1800s.
They
so
were.
that's okay.
Probably 1850, I'd put my money on
It was
it.
around that time-ish, maybe a bit later. Yeah.
Mm.
So he wanted to be the circulatory system, and to do that you can't afford sentimentality. You can't afford to see competitors as people or towns as communities. They're either part of the pipeline or they're a blockage to be removed. The substance rewards this kind of thinking too and amplifies it. The corruption isn't an accident, it's a feature. You can't touch this stuff and stay the same. The substance demands a soul that matches its own qualities, dense, pressurized, combustible. It rewards the willingness to drill deeper, to take more, ignore the collateral damage. It whispers of an infinite growth in the finite world, and it makes a lie feel like genius. A human shape to fit the non-human will, the trellis learning to love the vine that's choking it. So this is what happens after the gusher. The black blood needs a priesthood. It needs handlers with the right temperament, cold ambition disguised as vision, greed disguised as progress. And once that archetype is in place, once it controls the veins of the global body, the stage is set. The relationship is locked in. We, the civilization, are now fully dependent on the substance. And that's when it can truly show you who's in charge. Not by stopping, but threatening to stop. And that's where we are now with the stopping of the supply of the bloodline, the clot in the artery, right?
We are.
And so we've had this before though.
Absolutely.
In the 1970s OPEC crisis, right?
Totally. And they're all deliberate.
And
Pushes up the price. Like even Trump's saying at the moment, he doesn't give a shit about anyone on the ground, and you're all fools if you think he does. But he's coming out with statements at the moment that the price of oil going up is good. Well, it's good for the oil companies.
Yeah, great for
And
them.
he's literally praising himself that this is good. Like, it's not good for me. It's not good when the oil runs out and I can't drive anywhere. That's not going to work. And when the food doesn't come to the shops.
Well, that's what the suffering is,
whoa,
right?
you wait.
It doesn't
you
affect
wait.
him. It affects the people.
If what's going on at the moment doesn't sort itself out this week, we're in trouble.
Yeah, well, that's
oil wins again.
Too,
oil wins again. And it gets more expensive, and they'll pretend it's rarer and all the rest of it. So it's just how it is. So crazy old world, crazy old oil.
Yeah, so conflicts in the Middle East over the last half century are often framed as fights for democracy or against terrorism.
We're going to bring you freedom whether you like it or not.
Exactly, the democracy.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, you'll get democracy, right?
Absolutely.
The pulsing constant, the need to secure access to the veins, the need to keep the blood flowing to the right temples. The substance creates the dependency, and then it demands conflict to feed the dependency, and it's a perfect hellish cycle. Empires rise and fall along its pipelines. Every major shift in the last century, the collapse of the Soviet Union, the rise of China, the instability of the Middle East, the war in Iran that we're seeing now, can be traced back to the flows of its black blood. And the ultimate geopolitical currency, because it's the ultimate physical necessity. We actually traded our energy sovereignty for convenience, and in return we bound our fate to the most volatile regions on Earth. And so the oil shocks of 73 and 79 were the first major tremors of that binding, and they were the substance reminding us that the terms of the deal were that we provide the civilization and technology and the armies, and it provides the power, and it can take it away whenever the system is threatened. And so it goes again, violent struggles for power and dominion for the lands at the heart of this bloodline. So the pattern is complete, an abiotic, unhuman substance that human curiosity and greed bring to itself to the surface. It shapes a priesthood of ruthless handlers to build its global circulatory system. And then once the world is hooked, it reveals the price, not just money, but blood, war, empire, a permanent state of geopolitical tension centered on the places where it seeps from the ground. The blood demands sacrifice to keep flowing, and we believe we have no other choice but to keep paying.
Well, wasn't it funny, even the other day, our ex-Prime Minister, who was a goofball, he came out
Scott
and
Morrison.
said he believes this whole oil thing and the war's a reset.
He said it is. He said, don't worry.
Yeah, he said, don't fear it, things going to change.
Or
though.
in the background, and he called, I can't remember the name he used, but he was talking about the ruling.
Yeah, the ruling class
ruling,
is changing or something like that.
Yeah, and he said that they're not, this has all been deliberate. And he wrote it on his website.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah, so you can go get on Scott Morrison's website and have a look. But he wrote this whole article about it being a reset.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that, like, maybe something good will come of all this. You know, maybe we get to move away from oil. Maybe technologies that have existed, you know, basically since Tesla invented them, maybe they can turn them on. Wireless free power. They, like, this shit existed. This isn't a story that was made up from Disneyland. This is... The guy existed and he knew how to move free power.
Tesla was amazing, mind. The fact that the geopolitical landscape's overtaking his ideas and trying to corrupt them is pretty sad. That's what always happens.
Well, even in his time, resets were happening. And the reset, unfortunately for him, was like back to oil. You know, hardcore use of oil and whatever. And everyone ignored all these, you know, experiments or whatever. Which again, Trump's uncle basically got all the patents for Tesla. You know, John Trump. And so the Trump family are in possession, so they're the ones who would lose the biggest if oil dumps, because but they could also gain the most by pulling out patents that they control for free energy or whatever. So
this is what I feel like they might be doing.
There could be a reset.
There's a whole Elon Musk connection and all that, because he named them Tesla, the cars, right? And so that tells me that there's there's hints everywhere.
Little hints that things could be changing. So even Morrison, our ex Prime Minister.
We know there's a reset coming.
Like totally. 2030 is the guaranteed one. And, you know, I had someone just in comments before going, Bubba Venga said that Trump will be the last president. That's possible, because New World Order will come in and you don't need presidents for them. So things are amping up. And
one more government and the whole idea of you'll own nothing. And
that's
all
it.
Kind of
and they're trying to make governments look useless by all the infighting. So this kind of war sort of shows that defect of having politicians in power and controlling countries and resource.
And I'm going to go as far as to say this, that there is that whole undercurrent that the powers that be have this knowledge that they've stolen. So they have this knowledge of the occult, the spiritual stuff that they took from the people during the Dark Ages, right? So they have all of that information. So they would know more about this tied to oil. They'd understand that there's more corruption involved in that, and they'd know that there's some more evil
They push the lie.
So they actually probably worship it, they probably ask for it, they bring it into being. So they parallel life a lot and try to bring us into a dark, corrupt consciousness. But we have the ability to supersede that by keeping our energy high and keeping our spiritual realm strong. You know, nothing can take you if you don't allow it to.
No, just don't get on your knees.
No
need to be on your knees. I think if people just stood up a little bit more, we wouldn't be in this mess.
And just don't go into the fear. That's what feeds the darkness. It really does. So we have this abiotic, intelligent substance that corrupts its handlers and demands geopolitical sacrifice. But what's the end game? To understand the trap, there's a perfect parallel in fiction. So Tolkien's One Ring. Everyone knows Lord of the Rings. So it offers a bearer power, longevity, the ability to shape the world, just like the One Ring. But its true purpose is to bind. One ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. The petroleum age is our One Ring. It gave us unprecedented power to move, to build, to dominate nature. It extended our reach and seemingly our time. But its true effect was to bind us all into a single global system of dependency. We can't just take it off. The ring wanted to be found. It waited for the right bearer and manipulated events to return to power. So we're getting Mordor now. We're getting that whole darkness trying to overtake the world where it feels impossible to overcome. But doesn't that sound familiar? Oil waited, dreaming its black dreams, until a species clever enough to drill through deep enough came along. But not only that, it was showing itself. It wanted to be pumped. And the corruption is identical. The ring corrupted the kings of men with promises of power and immortality, twisting them into wraiths. Our trade has been similar. Convenience, global dominance, and a life of miraculous ease in exchange for our spiritual sovereignty. We traded agency for comfort. We became servants in a palace we thought we built. But the most terrifying parallel is the addictive quality. Even Frodo at the very end couldn't willingly destroy it. He claimed it for himself. And we're the same, knowing it's destroying our planet, fueling wars and corrupting our politics. We can see the hellish cycle, but we can't imagine life without it. So true, we're using it all the time. The thought of shutting off the flow feels like suicide. The ring must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom where it was forged. What if this is the equivalent for oil? What if there is no simple volcano? The system is the world. And so this is what Matt was just saying before, is what if this is the reset where we are actually choosing to destroy the One Ring, the oil?
Yeah, I think oil made people so stupid already. I don't have
Don't
a lot
think
of
we can
faith.
destroy it.
Yeah, I think we're a few generations away.
Right.
I think
It can
we
be
need to
done.
be pushed into a
Yeah.
corner a bit harder. I think everyone's had too much of an easy run, especially the last 50 years. But the damage the last 50 years have caused, not just oil, but it all stems from oil.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah,
that's
think
polluting
back.
is a byproduct of oil. Plastic.
Plastic.
Everyone knows is sick of
Carpets.
plastic. Like we shouldn't use plastic. We need glass and paper and go back to how it used to be. No, we can't, because then, there's profits lost. And like the old school, the old elites, the old dynasty families who control all this shit are just crawling around trying to hold on to the last drop and push
It's like
it.
Gollum, isn't it?
It is, it is. They're
Looking
just
for
a
the
bunch of
one ring.
golems, and we're over it. Like, there's other ways to use
I
power.
love we're over it. It's so funny.
There's a million ways, and it's always funny. Like even solar power, I like solar power. Got into it.
The sun is the power. Sun
Totally,
is the god.
it's free. It's free. So I put a lot of solar on the house, and as soon as I did that, the government cut all subsidies for me supplying. So I supply free power to my neighbours. They get charged 50 cents a kilowatt, and I get 4 cents.
And the
how's that renewable? That's bullshit.
And the ridiculous thing is that we're being fed all these lies about sustainability and climate change and all of that
Yeah,
kind
they're
of stuff.
pumping oil all day long.
Yeah, they're pumping oil
The same people
and
yelling
there's
at me.
plastic on everything. But then
Totally.
they're also getting angry at us because we're using solar and it's too cheap for them. So they're not making enough money off us.
They lose profit, and they don't like that.
But if the goal is just sustainability, why are they
Well, it's
upset that
not.
we're being sustainable?
It's obviously not. All right, so sustainability, let's talk that, and a war.
God,
Like
yes.
the amount of oil that's now in water,
And the
the
money,
amount of
yeah.
pollution. So I'm supposed to feel bad if I fart or if I add a cow that
If you eat
farted.
meat.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yet these wars are run by the same people ramming this BS down our throat 24/7. And war's okay, that doesn't matter how many missiles they shoot a day, how much Earth's dug up and to make all those bombs, all that shit. Like the military industrial complex is what has to fall.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that runs on oil like no tomorrow.
That's
If
why
oil runs out,
it's-
war runs out.
Yes.
So if the oil did run out, who cares? Really? We'd go
But
back
this
to
is what
peaceful.
they're saying is this substance has a much more deeper meaning to
It's
it.
war.
Oil is
It's war.
darkness.
That's what it
It
is.
is a deep seepage of consciousness
Totally.
that corrupts humans. Okay, and so like Matt said before about the oil and the water. Water is a life force. Oil is a polluter. So we have to make a choice. Which one do we depend on for ever in our
Totally.
existence? Has there been a history before where oil's come up and destroyed civilizations that we don't
Guaranteed.
know about?
Guaranteed.
But it wiped them out, so now we don't
Guaranteed.
know that actually happened because
Totally.
history always repeats too.
It does.
I
It's a
never believe
constant.
this is just it and we're the only one that's ever done this.
What I find too weird, like a golem ring or something precious,
Yeah.
is oil from a distance looks like black goo, but then you get up close and it's full of rainbows.
Yeah, like
And
it
it's
tempts
mystical.
you in,
It does.
yeah.
Like you could stare at oil for hours and trip out on that.
because the
'cause it's-
slickness of it.
Yeah, and it's full of colour. So even though it's black, it seems to hold the rainbow of colour within itself. It's almost like it absorbs the colour around it or something.
Yeah,
I find
yeah,
the
dark-
rainbow effect is really weird.
It
and-
is really weird. It's the slickness, and we use words like slick to imply someone who's deceptive, don't
Yeah,
we?
which is oil.
Like they were slick and
Yeah.
they were,
and all the bad dudes are always in black
oiled,
suits.
yeah, with oiled
know?
hair and
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just a constant.
It is. So I guess there's a whole lot of parallels in what we've presented today. And we got two ways of looking at it. One narrative says that oil is from dead things and that we are guilty users draining a finite past. We're not subscribing
That's what
to
the
that.
oil barons tell us.
The other
Make
says
more money.
oil is a living darkness from below and we are conscious participants in something ancient. One story breeds guilt and paralysis, but the other strangely breeds responsibility and the potential for us to emerge strong again. The oil is waiting right now in pipelines, in tanks, in the engine of your car, in the Strait of Hormuz, or under the ocean being bombed at the moment, dreaming its black dreams. It found us once. The question isn't about past anymore. It's about what do we do now that we know. So share this with someone who feels the corruption in the modern world but can't quite name it, or share your thoughts on this. What do you think about oil? Do you see what it's done? Do you feel that consciousness? Do you think it's actually, there's more to the black goo than what we're being presented?
Yeah, maybe the black goo is just all our bad karma.
Yeah, I wonder if we brought it to the surface.
Yeah. All our humans just being assholes, which
we
we're pretty good at
consciously
doing.
make and create,
Yeah, maybe
don't we?
we're doing it because humans just do create. Like you know, people will work that out one day that well,
we're
you know,
manifestors.
we're the one. We're all, you know, we can do lots of amazing stuff that we don't.
And collectively, we
Because
can
oil
really
keeps us
bring
all
it.
greedy against each other, just like money does and everything else.
And oil
Makes it a game,
money,
a
so
competition.
money and oil are two.
They're the same shit. You know, funnily enough, our plastic paper notes are made out of oil.
They are.
So, you know,
Yes.
everything is. All the inks, all
Yes.
this stuff. It's amazing. What amazes me is, though, like, this guy walks around 1850, sees a bit of oil. 20 years later, they're pumping it out of the ground. And then they're like, what can we do with this? Oh, all right, so it goes bang. And if we refine it, it goes bang even more. All right, that's cool. We can power shit. Done.
Do oil telling
But
what to
then,
do with it.
well, this is the weird part. But then we can make plastics. We can make carpet. We can make panels for your car. We can make seats, cushions, bottles. Suddenly, oil can do everything. Like, it's now the miracle thing. But how come nothing else is like that? Like, I know hemp, actually. I was reading a thing this morning, and I didn't finish reading it. But Henry Ford actually ran his first Model Ts on hemp oil.
Wow.
Hemp oil was before they had mass production
That's
of
so
oil.
interesting, isn't it?
And hemp oil was better than oil. It's cleaner. It's environmentally friendly. His first Model T car was made out of hemp fiber, and the car was running on hemp oil. All right. Now, I know I sound like a hippie if I say the word hemp, but
well, that's what
hemp
they've
is
made
amazing.
Well, why did they make it look like
They banned it after the war because they used it for everything up to the war.
Yeah.
Parachutes, ropes, everything.
Probably too easy for them. And the corruption of oil, I feel like it's
Totally.
bigger.
Hemp,
And I feel like it
free,
creates the brain.
seeds, chuck it in the
Yeah,
ground,
they
boom,
need-
renewable, proper renewables.
Yeah.
Oil, dig it up, we need more bad karma to fill the wells.
Yeah,
So
and it's also, if it's
playing out.
corrupting the souls of the people that are drilling it
Absolutely it
and tapping
does.
into it, then they need to keep the beast alive,
Totally.
right? So there's so much more to this than just pumping oil out
There
of the
is,
ground.
and it's that thing, like humans, we can do anything we want, and that's
We
why
can.
I think
We
oil's
can.
become the major player in the world because a few greedy bastards pushed it on us,
Yep.
and now they make every single item you use, every Kmart, every Woolworths,
Yes.
it's full of oil products.
Yes.
Like the shop itself is made out of oil products.
Yeah.
The vinyl flooring,
Yes.
you know, the plastic handles on the trolleys, and then the metal
Everything.
has been melted and schmelted in with using oil and power. So, like, if humans could just think for 1 minute, we could look at anything, like wood again or anything,
But it all,
and
but
go,
the corruption
we can
stops
turn that
those
in.
bright
Well, there's
minds.
no money.
Who, there are lots of minds doing these things. I really believe that, but it's the corruption and the
A lot of them
world
get bad
order.
car accidents all the time, and
Yeah.
weird stuff happens to them.
It's a very high suicidal bunch.
It
these
is. They're
inventors.
weird. These super smart people just seem to like falling off the planet for no
Yeah.
apparent reason in really weird circumstances. But
Yeah, so
that's the power
I
of
think
oil
that
as well.
oil has a lot to answer for, but it's the way that we are slave to it, the way that we're corrupted by it. Maybe it gushing out of the ground should have been a warning to us, not something that lured us in.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Okay. Well, I think
Well,
that'll
do.
But
That'll do. I might just throw on a video or two
Yep.
now that we're going to go and do something else
have
and
a
chill
watch.
out.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of really interesting videos that are well worth the watch. So if you're going to hang around,
Yeah.
feel free to watch them. And we'll probably be back in a week's time.
And these will be in
Do
parts
something else.
as well, just for people to see. Obviously, this will go on as a whole, but there'll be parts that'll be cut up. And what we're going to do is, when we get subscribers up, Facebook have mucked us around a bit with that, but once we get subscribers up, we will share the whole thing to subscribers only. So that'll be on there for people to use.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
See ya.
over and out.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, we've done it.
When they first found petroleum, because they were beginning to make motors and needed on axles or wheels on railroad trains and all that sort of thing, and remember trains started in the beginning of the 19th century, then oil went from just a lubricant to a fuel, and it made it valuable. And Rockefeller happened to be the smartest man in the business at the time, but he made most of his money, or much of it, off the transport of the petroleum as well as selling it. But one thing they realized was, because oil is putting a price on oil is like putting a price on a pail of water. You know, there's no initial cost. It's in the ground, and in those days they were, some of it almost what you'd call surface mining the oil. They didn't go down deep. So in order to get the price up, they hit on the idea that they would have to make it appear to be scarce. That after we take the next few barrels out, we're probably going to have to close as well. You know, that kind of thing. Well, a very fortuitous event. In 1892, there was a convention in Geneva of scientists to determine what organic substances are. Well, the definition of organic is a substance with hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And so it's usually a living substance, a tree. You analyze a dead tree, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and grass and so on, living things. Animals, we are hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. So at this Geneva Convention, Rockefeller took advantage of sending some scientists over who said, oil, petroleum, is hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Therefore, it must be derived from the spoiling, the rotting of formerly living matter. And playing the game properly, when this scientific convention was over, they defined oil as the residue from formerly living matter. Well, that makes it a fossil fuel. I don't know why they decided to use the word fossil, but it says formerly living matter, it's fossil. Well, of course, today, and another thing we should know is that there has never been a fossil, a real fossil found below 16,000 feet. And you can't argue at 16,000 as a level line because someplace the ground sinks and so on, but 16 is what the scientists say, 16,000. We mine oil, or we drill for oil at 30,000, 33,000, 28,000 every day of the week. So right there, we rule it out that it isn't fossil fuel. It's called fossil fuel for the minds of the public to feel that it is an asset that is running out, being depleted. We talk about depletion allowance, which is a lot of, and actually, if you know the world's oil supply, you know that it is not going to run out for an awfully long time. It is the second most prevalent liquid on Earth. And we haven't begun to dig. Well, with all that background, you see, the people in charge of the petroleum business, for perfectly reasonable business things, just like any other man in the business, wants to keep his price as high as he can get away with. And the way to do is just say, well, as no more, the last barrel is going to cost $1,000 and then it's all done. And they preach that stuff. What bothers me is that in geology books, it's in there. The geologists say it's a fossil fuel. They've been bought. I mean, I went to a 4-year federal staff energy seminar run by the government of the United States during the so-called energy crisis. I was the participant that represented the railroad industry. The airline industry was there. Every AA, administrative assistant of senators and congressmen, was there. The CIA was there, the Defense Department was there, the State Department was there. Sometimes sitting right in front of me in the row would be Henry Kissinger with his friend, the head of Department of Defense. That's too bad, I can't put the names with them. But anyway, people like that, top men in the government, sitting there listening to the Federal Staff Energy Seminar. Well, what this was doing is for 4 years, they were teaching a propaganda line to the leading people in this country, and therefore to the leading people in the world, when you include the Schlesingers, Kissinger and Schlesinger, among others. And the object of it was, as Kissinger used in his own terms when it was time for him to speak, to create a world price for oil. In other words, not 30 cents a gallon here and 90 cents a gallon there, but let's get a world price. That's their goal, and they're trying to do that for wheat and everything else. We don't realize what the controls are, whether it's oil or some of these other things. Almost everything today is being categorized at the highest price they can possibly make it go. And so calling petroleum a fossil fuel is the basis for this system with respect to petroleum. And I don't know if the name Arthur Kantrowitz rings any bell. Arthur Kantrowitz is the head of the Kantrowitz Labs set up by the Avco company near Boston, scientific laboratories. And a great man in the scientific world. And Kantrowitz and I were sitting at a table at this seminar once, and the table happened to be all young college grad, PhD geologists. And so just to get a conversation started, I turned to Kantrowitz and I said, Arthur, what do you think about this foolishness of these speakers talking about fossil fuel. And it was kind of put up. He started laughing. He said, you know, that gets me. He said, I don't have a geology degree, but he had 1,000 other degrees. And he said, I don't understand. He said, you'd think that these heads, these other fellows at the table, we did it on purpose, start listening, you know. And he asked, he said, are you gentlemen? He says, you're here at the meeting. Are you gentlemen by any chance geologists? And one fellow, yes, I am. And the other, yeah. He said, well, why don't you tell me? He said, why is oil? You know, and he went on like that. We brought the house down because nobody could argue with Cantorus. He like Einstein. People are going to, and he told them right there, he said, just drop it. But it's in all the books and in all the papers. But it started from that strange meeting in 1892, a scientific convention in. I have a big, thick scientific encyclopedia put out by the DECODE company that's about 15 years old now, but it has the whole story of the conference. It doesn't have the Rockefeller part, but it has the whole story of how they straightened out organic chemicals and how it was all figured, and they've got petroleum right in there.
Amazing. So
these aren't